Greetings, my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the globe, whether you are grafted in or you are under the bloodline covenant. I want to say shalom, salama, siemi, shalom, whatever appropriate transliterated Hebrew greeting that we tend to try to use in our community to be able to say we're defying the Greek culture and the Romanisms that have been over us because we're beginning to look at Google Books and we're beginning to research our identity and we're beginning to understand all of the systemic issues that have gone on in terms of us being where we're at in this position. And so this morning, honestly, really didn't have anything to say. I didn't think I was really going to do anything, but the Most High put something on my heart because I went to the grocery store, went to Publix, and I was just thinking about all the things um, that the Most High is putting me through, and I was thinking about some of the personal things in my life, and it's a toll when you work for the Most High. It is a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. You will lose something near and dear. Just let's just understand it. You will lose something near and dear because see, when you are doing what the Most High does, your family, your friends, your loved ones, your close loved ones, relationships, they will begin to be altered. And I've grown through that and I've gone through that. This is why avoided even trying to do anything in ministry or do anything to try to minister or teach or, do anything affiliated with the Most High. Because here's the thing, I was just more than content about, well, you want to know what? I'm going into the promised land and forget everything else. I'm just going to live my life. I'm going to be comfortable and I'll just see how things shape on up. I am the consummate skeptic. Okay, if God does what he does, the Most High does what he does, then you know what? I'm good with that. And if he doesn't, you know what? Well, no skin off my back. That's what we do. That's how we think. That's our logic. Some don't like that logic, but it's the truth. That's just the nature of who we are. And I even thought to myself, honestly, is it worth it just to shut down my channel, shut down everything, and just kind of come groveling back? This is the life that I used to have, and you know what? Forget everything else. It's of no consequence. You know what? If it's of God, then you know what? Too bad, so sad. If it's not of God, then, hey, I'm good. But at that moment in the Publix parking lot, because I was getting mad. I was getting mad at the Most High. But at that moment in the Publix parking lot, he said, do you think that your ancestors didn't make any sacrifices? And that stunned me because The other night, We Woke Now had a teaching about polygamy, and he was talking about um, all of David's shortcomings with in Pastor Kelly's teaching. And then the night before, I was listening to Josh, Pastor Josh, Moray Josh, for Hebrew Nation Building. And, a lot of us, we do think that, when I get on out and I'm out of here, I'll have all my wealth. I'll be under Genesis 15 and 14. I'm going to leave a great wealth and great substance, and I'm going to live my life. Yes, we will live our life, but we have to concede that our life will be different because we're going to be living for righteousness and not for immorality. See, I had this conversation with my son multiple times. He's 14 years old. He's about a year and a half away from getting his driver's license. And, just like most teenage boys specifically, they look at cars. And as, he's understanding this truth, carnally speaking, it's, well, if I had this much money, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to build this, I'm going to invest in that, I'm going to make this, I want to work on that, all these things. And I have to tell my son, calm down, because in all of what you said, I never heard what you're going to do for the Most High. I said, because here's the thing, the Most High will bless you because if you do what the Most High asks, He'll take care of you. If you work on what the Most High asks you to work on, He'll provide for you. And during this time frame, honestly, I should have been struggling. I should have been, in all sorts of peril and need, but the Most High has been taking care of me. Sure, I could have just given this all up. Like, I'm not doing these videos anymore. I'm going to just go back, give all this on up and say, you know what? It is what it is, but it was too much for me to handle. So it's not of God. And we all do that. It's too much for me to handle. It's not of God. If it was God, it would be easier. If this was of God, there'd be no issue. I wouldn't be experiencing the issues that I'm experiencing in this life. If this is of God, I'd be walking through the tulips, not having problems with my family, not having problems with my marriage. But you have to understand, where in the Bible, tell me where in the Bible, where a person, an Israelite, a Hebrew, was walking with God and didn't have any issues with his own personal relationships. Because to be quite honest, you see that from literally Abraham through Isaac through Jacob, through our patriarchs, even down right now. Because, see, the enemy knows the easiest way to get to someone who is committed to the Most High's work is always through the family, specifically through that spouse. Because here's the thing I had to realize: if what I'm doing is of God, if what I'm doing is of the Most High, then surely He will turn things around. Surely He will renew and He will rebuild. Surely He will release what the strong man has a hold of. And so when I was sitting in my car this morning, I thought about that. I said, the Most High can talk to my loved one like this and give her a word like that and change it all around so quick. But I realized this, that in my spirit and in my flesh is two different things. See, in my carnal hopes for my relationship. But I know who I am in my carnal and I know who I am in my spirit. And I realize that if I get everything I want in my carnal, my spirit won't be doing the work that it needs to do. So in order for me to do what I need to do without my carnal corrupting my spirit, I need to have certain things set apart from me to continue to work things on out while the Most High needs me in that particular service. And it's not to say that the Most High is going to keep every good thing away from me. It's to say for this season, it needs to be away because the work needs to be done. You don't go on vacation in the middle of a project that's due the next day. You usually work on that project and you schedule your vacation around the project because the work is the work that fulfills your requirements for your needs. It keeps the lights on. It keeps the roof over your head. And ensures that you have the resources for provision, for sustenance, to eat. And so when I thought about that, I realized I'm in good shape because nothing's really gone anywhere. Nothing's really changed. It's just that I know that right now I'm not in the position to be in that relationship the way that I need to be because the heart wouldn't be right. And I know that when I was thinking about this, if I try to go into and restart a relationship, especially with a Gentile, and their heart's not right for Yahuwah, then I'm 10 times worse off than where I'm at right now. See, on the Hebrew Sphere forums and things of that nature, I'd see all the things about well, the union and this and the union and that. And let me just be perfectly honest with you all. 20 years ago, this thing was a fringe operation. 20 years ago, this thing, yeah, you may get into the truth, but it was just like, all right. But your heart wasn't set on it. You want to know why? Because the Most High wasn't really putting that in our hearts the way it is right now. And there's a reason for that. That reason was that 20 years ago, we weren't ready to go. 20 years as a people, yeah, you had some things going on here and there. You had Rodney King back in the early 90s. And then you really didn't have much because, quote unquote, it was supposed to be a brand new day, supposedly. But what it was that the law was getting into your deepest sleep. You know, when you look at the physiology of sleep, and I know that most people who have sleep apnea, like myself, and I've gone to the sleep doctors and the sleep studies and everything else to wear my little CPAP. They tell you that the deepest part of your sleep, that RAM, occurs right before you wake up. Because that's when you're dreaming. That's when your body is the most relaxed, and that is when your battery is literally getting recharged. Not just in your brain, but in your body. Your heart slows at that time. Your breathing slows at that time because your body is in a relaxed state that it can begin to recharge and begin to refresh. And it usually only happens for about 2 to 3 hours. So while you're there in that 2 to 3 hour span, which takes you a good 3 to 4 hours to get there, everything is copacetic. Everything is calm. Everything is relaxed. Everything is peaceful. See, you had to remember at this time, right before we were waking up, we were supposedly, quote unquote, having something copacetic. We were in the midst of, America really congealing because at that time, the spiritual forces had kind of laid low. And the doctrine of America had kind of just been even kill. Yeah, everything is fine as long as you don't question the system. We have affirmative action, we have all these things, we have civil rights, we have all these hiring practices, all of these non-discrimination practices. So on the surface, it looked really good. On the books, it felt like it was promoting something. But then you realize you were just in a deep sleep because guess what? You really didn't understand what was happening in the world around you because the idea of promoting self and self only. Do for self. Don't worry about your community. Do for self. But that's what we as a black, quote unquote, Israelite Hebrew community, that's what we were getting told. Oh, those folks that are in jail or in prison, that's because they did it to themselves. That's because they didn't want to take the opportunities that was presented. And then when you really delve into what was happening, then you started to realize there was a little bit more to that. Then you started to understand there was a little bit more to what was being stated. And then we start to get the clear picture that the smoke and mirrors that was spiritually on us as a people was now starting to dissipate. And now that that cloud that was on our mind spiritually, as it's dissipating, we're able to see what's happening. And so for our community, since we can see what's happening, we can now articulate what's going on. And if you can articulate what's going on, then you can actually articulate the pattern of what has been the causal factors of our issues. And then you start to realize it is more than just, somebody making the wrong choice or somebody not doing this and somebody doing that. Then you are starting to realize, oh, this was a systemic effort to keep us down. Even after slavery, even after these supposed laws that were on the books to quote unquote keep us on an even playing field. And then you realize how systemic and how ingrained society was to ensure that everything was copacetic as long as we didn't question what was happening in society. See, you had to understand the moment that we started questioning everything that was happening in society, the moment that you create a spiritual imbalance. Because if you hadn't noticed, back in about 2013 and 14, there was a very big rift that was happening. There was a spiritual rift. And you had a lot of the white community on edge. We didn't know what the edge was. We didn't really understand what that edge meant. We just realized, okay, something's kind of gone off with them. Because for them, it was, something doesn't feel right. It doesn't really look too good. But we weren't actually understanding what was actually happening in their community. We weren't understanding that the opioids crisis was taking a toll. We weren't understanding that the birth rates were declining. We weren't understanding that the suicide rates were beginning to climb higher and higher amongst their community. So, really, spiritually, the dam was actually broken with them. For all fairness, for all credit, the dam was actually broken with them. And in their actions of being jittery, in their actions of starting to have this system destabilize. Excuse me, back in 2015, that's when you had Trump say, hey, I'm going to start running for president because you got to understand the erratic behavior that we were seeing began to crystallize and it began to form what we're seeing right now. So that spiritual craziness that had gone on in the white community, it actually did something a little bit different in the black community. We started to question a lot of the things that was going on, and we started to really read our word. Well, all I know is that if the Bible tells me so, then that's going to go off of what the Bible states. So you got to understand, with all the stuff that they're trying to push on us, as a people, we actually push back. I mean, our rates of, quote unquote homosexuality, the quote unquote alternative lifestyle, that was never on us. Because spiritually, as a people, we don't delve into that. And to be quite honest, the only reason that we have our people into that is because there was some sort of traumatic event that had exposed them to that spiritual effort. And they don't like to actually tell you the studies that about 99% of these cases were our people that are involved in a alternative, quote unquote, alternative lifestyle. They don't tell you that those cases are from some sort of a sexual trauma. And the sad thing is that when they do the studies, they say, no, that's against, that's homophobic and everything else. And and the studies are there. So when you present the truth, you get met with opposition because oh, that's the spiritual cage that they wanted to push on our community from the time that we were buck broken through the formation of Willie Lynch to even our denigration in the prison systems to right now. That was a systemic operation to try to decline our numbers. Because you got to understand, in our community, since it's not rampant, our birth rates are actually well above the sustainable 2.1 birth rate, even with the whole eugenics program being pushed on our people. And the sad thing is, as the eugenics program had been pushed on our people during these last 10 years, we've actually systemically pushed back at not having the abortions, of not having the termination of pregnancies. And then you saw that in 2018 that, well, the main ones campaigning for the Planned Parenthood were white women. You'd have maybe one or two black women in the crowd, but it was mainly white women. And then you started to realize that their whole system that they created was breaking because, see, they gave in to their lust. And that sin as a community had literally backfired on them. They gave into their perversions. And as a community, that literally backfired on them. So as we began to understand that, as we began to articulate it, we began to actually wake up. Wait a second. Wait. Why are they doing this? That doesn't seem right. Why are they trying to push that on us? It doesn't seem right. And then that the age of them being overbearing on us, they literally pushed us into this truth. Something is going on here. Why are they saying this? Why are they doing? Why are they so adamant that they're trying to push this on us? Why are they so adamant that I see these political ads saying that we're the primary demographic for COVID-19, where no one has seen any type of demographic studies being published? And now we're starting to see the lies that has been pushed on us because see, we've articulated it. Wait. Y'all told us that we were dumb, but now we see these libraries and we get to these studies and we look at these documents and we look at these books and we look at these articles and we look at these peer reviewed journals and it says, oh, our IQ is a little bit more than Europeans. Oh, and it says historically, we've been the ones that's created innovation. Wait, so not only are we smart, we're very innovative. We create things. Yeah, that's why. But not only do we create things and not only do we look at things and see the loopholes, that's why they have to constantly go back and redo things. Because sooner or later, we always find the loophole in what they've created. And see, do you understand in this day and age and in this generation, all these loopholes that they tried, it's all closing. They've loopholed themselves into the ultimate loophole, which is going right back to their destruction. And in a system where we can't do anything about it, we have no power to do anything about it, their incessant nature to have power has actually produced a negative response. And they're being judged by it. And when they realized that we were doing these things and saying these things about who we are as a people, no, you're not Hebrews, you're right, you're this, you're that. They did that back in 2017 and 2018. And do you know that as they continue to do that, our resolve began to be that much clearer? And we decided as a people, as a community, it's a spiritual thing. We are a people. I may be one voice, but there's millions of people with the same voice because that's the way the Most High intended it. We're a people. We're not just Israel. We're what? We're the nation of Israel. We're the what? We're the communities of Israel. That's what God had said. We're communities of people. That's what Balaam had said. He said, look, God has showed us, like, look, how sweet, how awesome are the tents of Jacob. The children of Israel. Because he was supposed to pronounce a curse. Instead, he pronounced a blessing. Do you understand what they were trying to do? They were trying to use some Balaamisms And they actually began to bless us to say, okay, well, if I'm wrong, then let me prove that I'm wrong. And what did we do? We continued to dig. We continued to dig. We continued to research. Because you got to understand, what did they do beforehand? Okay, if y'all Negroes are so dumb, because what were they being told in our parents' generation, in our ancestors' generations? Oh, y'all just some dumb, ignorant Negroes. Okay, well, since we're so dumb and ignorant, let me go ahead and get this degree. Oh, that degree wasn't that hard. Let me get this degree. Oh, that degree wasn't that hard. Let me get this terminal degree. Let me get this postdoctoral degree. Oh, okay. And then what did we do with that degree? God said, instead of looking for something carnal, I'm going to start showing you something in the spiritual. Well, let me take a look. Why do these people in this Bible, why does it kind of sound like our story? And then we dig in, and then we look. And then we get spiritual help because we're doing a spiritual thing. God doesn't help carnality. Lord, help me to win the lottery. I want to be the most expensive person. I want to be rich. I want to have all this stuff. For what? Whose glory does that fulfill? Whose glory does that fulfill? And you got to remember, that's the system that they wanted us to be boxed in. Hey, you look at these football players, you look at these basketball players, you look at Hollywood, you look at these rappers. See all the materialistic, nice stuff? And then you realize that these homes could be literally leveled with a Category 3 hurricane. All these nice things that they built for themselves off of our labor can be destroyed by a blowing of the wind. And then you start to understand they didn't even have the wealth that they projected that they had. It was just all debt. So now when you had China said, no, we're not going to deal with your debt anymore, the markets go crazy and they start selling off. Well, I don't want to be stuck with the debt. I'm not sure I'll be stuck with debt. The debt is higher than our GDP. We have now grown and outgrown our debt. Imagine when your credit card bills are more than the income that you're taking in. That's unsustainable. But you had to understand, okay, that materialistic stuff, it was never going to be forever. They thought it was going to be forever. They literally did. You tell them this system's going to be forever, they're like, yeah, it's going to be forever. We're going to be, Trump's going to get us on out here. We're going to be back on top. To do what? But to put you all back on the bottom. Of course. What do you think you're going to be doing? But that's their mentality. No, 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 no. We can't have you topsy turvy. That's the order of things, because you all came from monkeys, and have you seen Darwin, and have you seen your people? I mean, we had black boys in the zoos there in Brooklyn. And then you look at their DNA. Uh-oh. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. Well, doesn't this kind of look like something in Genesis 15? Uh-oh. Let's not go down there. So see, you had to understand, the more that we dug, the more that we exposed, it was like, calm down. I think that this is according to Max Kellerman. I think that that's some shaky research. Okay. Why? Because it was proven, it was shown, it was demonstrated off of you all scientists. It wasn't a black scientist that was saying this. From your rabbis, from your people that say that they're converts. And your people are saying that we're ethnically the people. What does that mean? Well, you don't want to know what that means? Well, let me try and use some big words because these Negroes don't know anything. Man, they sit here, they listen to Roddy Rich and all these dumb rappers that we bring on out here. We got one sellout after another, and we keep them groomed. Oh, he's not measuring on the table. Next crop, next generation. Oh, are they dumber than the last ones? Thank God. Thank God. They better not say anything about Hebrew Israelites. They better not pull no Kendrick Lamar. Remember the hoops we had to run through with that one? Oh my goodness. And now they know that they can't control the narrative because our people have literally we've awakened. Now, what we've awakened to, that's still to be determined. But I believe in terms of our identity, yes, I think that right now, as we were being killed off by this nation, the negative effect actually happened and occurred. That we began to see, well, why are we cursed like this? Why are we positioned like this? And then when you do those little simple requests, hey, Father, let me see. Father, in the name of Jesus, Yeshua HaMashiach, if that's your name, if that's who you are, Father, let me see what's happening, Lord. Let me understand what's going on. And then that simple prayer, that simple request, it gets answered. And see, a lot of folks when they had it answered, a lot of them just said, "Okay, well, you know what? I guess we are the people, and here's some biblical stuff." But it doesn't really mean anything to me because guess what? I'm not really trying to approach it like that. I got the answer, and well, what is it going to do for me now? So now we see, okay, we have the answer, but I'm going to vote. I can change the system when I vote. And then we get kind of caught up in our own ignorance because you have to understand we understand the spiritual blockade, and that spiritual blockade is our natural. So literally we're operating in our natural captivity through our spiritual intellect. See, the moment that we actually, as a people, we start saying, look, spiritually or naturally, we can't get this thing done. But spiritually, since we know who we are as a people, we have to call on the source. See, we can have a Professor Black Truth. We can have a TBA with Jason Black or the Black Authority or Jason Black. We can have all these talking heads with Tariq Nasheed. We can have it all. But at the end of the day, when you just talk, you can't do anything in the system that was never meant for us to do anything. It was meant for our captivity. And that's the thing that hurts, that when we do our captivity and we know we're in our captivity, well, I can do something. Why? Because that's the carnal. And then when you realize that the Most High operates in the spiritual, and then only is when we as a people can actually start getting out of this captivity. We can actually start being released. Because a lot of people like to ask, well, are we done with the 400 years? We got COVID-19, hurricanes, fires, earthquakes, swarms of insects destroying cattle, economy that's on the throes of disaster any day now, depending on China, because China wants no more of it. All this uncertainty, suicide fear, depression. I would kind of say that judgment's happening. But you got to understand, we're not seeing the judgment like they're seeing it. And you have to understand, if they're seeing that judgment and they're dealing with that judgment, they'll never express that to us because this is their world. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Their house could be on fire. Their house could be floating in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, and they'll say everything's fine. Everything's good because they know that's the spiritual code that they need to have because they can't have the panic. We even saw that with Trump. And we're seeing just how bad that was with they're not trying to ensue a panic at all. So guess what? I'm going to lie to everybody. I'm going to lie. I don't care how many people are going to die because guess what? It's to serve the lie. Man, that sounds straight demonic to me. That's straight demonic. Well, if you were righteous, a righteous man would say, well, you want to know what? Let's get on our knees and let's pray and let's ask the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whatever God that is, not the God of Baal, through his son, whatever we need to call him, not Cesar Borgia. And let's just be honest to ourselves and let's just be contrite and let's put this thing on the line. You know, the crazy thing is, you saw that with King Hezekiah in 2 Kings chapter 17 and 18, if I'm not mistaken. You saw that with him. Man, he said, look, Lord, I need this thing to turn around. And he came through and he got off of whatever situation he had, whatever haughtiness that he dealt with. And he said, I gotta give that all up because Lord, I need your help. So as I go through this, we have to understand where we're at and how we're sitting in this moment. Because here's the thing. It's funny when you're seeing the news and you're seeing how, well, the Trump administration didn't want to mail on out 5 masks per family because it would create a panic. Wow. No. What they're trying to tell you is we didn't want to tell you this because here's the thing. You all would panic and then you all would go back to the what? To the source. All right, Lord, well, if we're a righteous people, then I want to know what? Lord, you need to tell us what's going to happen. Father, you got to tell us what we're doing wrong. Lord, you need to help us to repent. What do we need to do? How do we repair what we've been repairing? And I guarantee you, the Most High would have said, hey, you need to pay these people and let them go. And then I may relent. I bet you that there were some pastors that got that word from the Most High. Ooh, well, I can't say that message because that's gonna mess with my 501c3. So nah, it'll blow on over. It'll blow on over. And then that's why we say that the shepherds have left and have led the sheep to the slaughter in this day and this time. Right now, they're leading them to the slaughter. Why? I'm not going to tell you who those people are. I'm not going to tell you who you have. Because why? My livelihood is on the line. My bills may not get paid. Well, wait a second. Aren't you supposed to rely on the Most High for everything? It's not about what you want, it's about His will. But then you understand, oh, yeah, these folks are just sitting and grinning. They have on nice little suits. They have a nice little building. They have some congregation that will pay their bills on the regular. because they're following the doctrine of itchy ears. They're following the doctrine of man and not the Most High. So they're going to get led right to destruction. And woe unto that shepherd. We're seeing it. We see the word being fulfilled right in this very day and age. But we have to understand that's what we're seeing and that's how we are looking, because we have to understand that when we are in this and as we're seeing this, this is what the Most High needs us to look at, because our spiritual release deals with our natural release. And then when the people can articulate what's going on, it's over. And that natural release is just a, Lord, I need you to work this thing on out. In your name, Yeshua HaMashiach. So I didn't want to spend a lot of time on that because I know that we're going through a lot of things and we're seeing a lot of things right now. But I know that the Spirit of the Most High, He's moving and He's talking and He's walking with all of us. So if you liked the content, please that's provided. Please subscribe to Covenant Awakenings. Please share. And I would also ask that you leave a comment, whether on YouTube or Hebrew Sphere. And also visit us at covenantawakenings.com. And I have my Patreon and Cash App for those that are inclined to give. If you give, I appreciate it. If you pray for me, I appreciate it. Because prayers are needed in this time. Because I need to be spiritually enlarged. The gifts are nice, but it's the spiritual enlargement that helps me to get this word on out. Because you got to remember, the enemy doesn't want a word like this going out to the masses. This is why YouTube has the algorithms to keep our videos down for this and this alone. So many will go here and there to increase knowledge. And with that said, family, shalom, shalom, siemi, salama. Peace and blessings, Israel.